Hello! Welcome to my channel. I'm Aman. This is Aman Does Stuff. I deliberately left that last bit of stuff ambiguous, so I want to cover a wide range of things, from video games, movies, TV, and really anything else. So let's kick things off with my thoughts on Persona 5 Royal, a game that changed my mind about RPGs. Let's begin. Persona 5 released in November 2016 to huge acclaim. Even though I'd only heard good things about it, I still didn't pick it up. I think that was due to my fear of the RPG. I'd been drawn in so many times in the past to some of the best games in the genre, but so many of those games were weighed down by conventions that really bored me. The grinding, the gear, the side quests, all of these things made me swear off RPGs. I thought that after some time the hype would die down and I'd start hearing less about the game, but I kept hearing more and more voices celebrating it. I couldn't help but be fascinated with the things I kept hearing about Persona 5. Some raved about the crazy premise of the story itself, others talked about the game's unique status as a hybrid of genres, being both a social simulator and a turn-based RPG. Earlier this year, Persona 5 Royal released, which I heard was more than just an update of the game. It was apparently a half-sequel, half-remaster with plenty of additions to both the gameplay and narrative. I couldn't help but think that this was my second chance to take that step out of my comfort zone and get the game that I'd heard so much about. So, I bought the game, hoping that it would change my mind about RPGs. The game didn't just meet my expectations, it surpassed them. Persona 5 Royal is not only a genre-defining experience representing the heights that every RPG should strive to reach, but one that demonstrates the unique power of the game medium to inspire and impact an audience in ways that storytellers and other media can only dream of. The main story is impactful and engaging and demands the player's attention, as it cannot be ignored without consequence. The combat cycle is easy to learn, however it never becomes repetitive. There's always an element of unpredictability that makes every encounter feel fresh. The grind for greater gear and power is almost completely reworked into an experience that is compelling and rewarding in its own right, without relying on the player's interest in a superficial power boost. World exploration is not only fun, but important, and by the time my first experience with the game came to an end, I immediately wanted to go back. I should explain that this isn't a comparison between Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. This is a video essay written by someone completely new to the Persona franchise. Without further ado, my new viewers, let's embark on this journey together and discover what makes this game so impactful. The game doesn't waste time. The story of Persona 5 Royal explodes into action with a frenzied, high-speed camera sweep of the sea, leading up to the site of this super casino, the heights of otherworldly extravagance. Nothing's been explained or introduced to you, you're just here, wherever this is. You see a silhouette stylishly moving from chandelier to chandelier above all the frightened casino goers until the silhouette stops, standing triumphantly in full view, a masked man with a dark overcoat and a smile of comfortable confidence. With this shot, the game transitions to gameplay with you stepping into the mystery man's shoes. The game has begun. You've been thrust into what seems to be an escape with absolutely zero context. This is all very deliberate though. If you're feeling a little lost, that's how you should be feeling. The game's just dropped you into a casino, and you're being guided out of there by a group shrouded in mystery, comprised of what seem to be teenagers and a... Is that a cat? Okay, that aside, you stylishly bound across this above-ground level towards your escape from the casino with a million questions swirling through your mind as to what's being stolen, who this group is, and why the music is so damn exquisite. Trust me, we'll get into that later. So, things have been a little crazy so far, but not super ultra crazy, right? So far it all feels somewhat grounded besides the talking cat, so it really isn't too much to take in all at...
Stop right there! You won't get away!
Take him down, Joker!
Okay, you're all thinking it, and that's okay. I went through the exact same thing at this stage, so I'll just go ahead and voice your collective thoughts just to get it out of our systems, okay? Just 1 second. Whoa, boy, what? Whew. Okay, With that out of the way, let's continue. The game immediately drops you into a combat situation, asking you to make use of mechanics that you've heard nothing about so far. I love the fact that you play through this bit with zero explanation of how to do anything. It enhances the feeling that you've just been dropped into the middle of the game and its story, which is exhilarating. However, there's more to this beyond the excitement factor. This early experience of battle also helps your personal connection to the game develop. The game's given you a combat scenario and said, go on, do your thing. But you don't know what that thing is yet. The game's relying on your relationship with it and what it's taught you to get past this obstacle, but you haven't learned any of that yet. After this battle, you feel personally tied to the mystery of what's happened so far and what will happen next, as you know that as you uncover that, you'll gain the ability that the game expected of you earlier. This establishes a connection between you and the story that wins your interest in it. So, you're already invested in seeing where the story's been and where it'll go, and you're looking forward to seeing how you change during this journey, thanks to this small taste of the combat. Also, I have to talk about the style on display here. That lovely deep crimson user interface, those dynamic colours, those fluid animations. Mwah! This extra flourish is immediately noticeable, and it enriches your interest in everything you've seen so far. After this section, 3 questions form in your mind. Who are these people? What's happening? And how did I do that? And that's perfect. You're far from any kind of understanding of what's happening, but you know that you're interested. Just as you're about to leave this casino, you're surrounded by more of whatever those things are, with something unknown headed your way. You think it's probably a boss fight, right? To nicely close off the prologue.
I'll end this right now. My weak self relied on you so much. That ends today. Let's do this, senpai!
After this incredible introduction, the two of you fight side by side. You take aim at your opponent and do some damage, but it doesn't compare to what she does. Whoa, you haven't seen or done anything like that. But this moment isn't here to mercilessly decimate your self-esteem after your one clumsy win earlier. It instead serves as a preview of what you'll be able to do in the future. The complete lack of control you have as you watch this mystery character annihilate the foes before you invites the question of, can I do that too? Which adds another layer of intrigue to the rest of the game. You're interested in learning about this world, this cast of characters, and their mission, and you're interested in the gameplay, having seen only a small glimpse of the many seriously stylish powers that you'll learn to master. The mystery woman acknowledges the fact that your mission as a phantom thief isn't over, and leaves, letting you ponder upon what that unreasonably cool title actually means. After this scene, Joker continues his escape. However, just before he completes his mission, he's caught. Joker is then detained by the police and taken away for interrogation, where we hear of all that the Phantom Thieves have done so far. These crimes don't seem to match the characters you've met though. Something seems off. Also, you're asked at this point to assign your name, which I think is quite clever. In the game, you're not just assigning your name to the protagonist, you're taking responsibility for all that he and his group have done. This reinforces that connection you have to this story and your interest in learning about what preceded this moment. A prosecutor later enters the cell, but she seems quite different from the other characters down here. She doesn't seem to belong to this dark underbelly of the government like the others do. She asks you to explain the nature of this other world that you've been using to perpetrate your crimes, which invites one of the biggest questions yet. What is this other world, and how is it related to this more familiar one? This interrogation is then interrupted by an ethereal whisper of a voice coming out of a blue butterfly, which asks you to remember all that's come before this moment and use the strength of your bonds with others to save this world from ruin. And with that, the game rewinds time, taking you back to where everything began. See, I chose to only analyse the prologue for this story section, as I think it does a really good job of demonstrating what kind of story this game tells. It's one that's full of mystery, excitement and intrigue. However, my favourite thing about it is how connected you feel to its narrative, how involved you feel in it. That is what gives it its power. Before we continue, I want to give you all a little bit of spoiler-free exposition about the premise of the game to explain some of what you'll be seeing. You play as Joker, a second-year student at Shujin Academy in Tokyo. He and his friends discover that they have the power to journey into the twisted minds of those who have been corrupted by their desires and fundamentally change who these people are by stealing their desires away from them, triggering a change of heart in the person they've targeted. After realising the potential in this power, Joker and his allies form the Phantom Thieves, a vigilante group that vow to use their powers to fight those in the world that evade the punishment of the law. The story tackles plenty of different themes, but its central theme is justice. The game's all about who gets to decide what the right thing to do is, and whether justice is doing what everyone feels is right, or what you feel is right. There's two main chunks that the player experiences here: the world of Tokyo, in which Joker goes to school and makes friends, and the other world called the Metaverse, where the group become the Phantom Thieves and change hearts. I'll expand on these different chunks of the game and how they're linked later in the video. Now though, let's talk about the combat system. Before I break down the combat, I should explain that these encounters aren't random like in other turn-based RPGs. In P5R, there's actually a little bit of strategy to taking your opponents on. You can rush them and attack, but that alerts others to your presence and leads to way more enemies getting in your way, so it's really better to stealth your way behind them and get the jump on them, giving you an immediate advantage. I really like this approach to starting encounters, as one, there's a fun stealth challenge to it, and two, it's not so frighteningly random like it is in other games. Really? Nothing? Okay, now onto the combat itself. Let's start with the game's one more and baton pass mechanics. The personas that you use and the shadows that you fight against are... Hey, I never explained that, did I, what these things are? Okay, I'm going to give myself just 30 seconds to do that, starting now. Personas are the spiritual manifestations of the understanding one has of themselves after they've accepted the truth of who they are and have discarded their masks. In this world, called the Metaverse, those who have the persona power are able to wield these spirit beings in combat against creatures called shadows, which are the unrefined manifestations of hidden human desires that are volatile and quite dangerous and quite mean. Whew. Okay, back to what I was saying. Personas and shadows all have strong and weak resistances to different types of damage, very much like what you have in the Pokemon games. However, here, every persona is unique in what it is strong and weak against, meaning that with every opponent, you have to search for their particular weakness, adding an extra challenge to combat. Hitting these weaknesses deals extra damage, but it also opens up possibilities that fundamentally change the turn-based formula. After you've targeted the enemy's weakness, that enemy is stunned on the ground, and you're given another turn to do whatever you want. You can either attack again, or you can perform a baton pass. When you do this, you pass your bonus turn on to another teammate, who also receives a strength and health boost. If they target another weakness in their turn, they can perform another baton pass. Every time a baton pass is performed, the overall buff that comes with it increases too. So, when you've come to the end of the baton pass chain, the final team member to receive it becomes ultra powerful. When you've hit every enemy weakness, you'll enter the hold-up phase, where you can finish the entire group off with a super stylish all-out attack.
That was incredible, Joker! Okay, guys.
Recognize it? That's right, that's the same attack you saw the Mystery Woman use in the prologue. The all-out attack is an absolute treat to watch unfold before you. One of the best things about it though is these awesome finishing frames you get for every character. It really does a lot for your understanding of these characters, as these portraits are essentially mini representations of who these characters are and what justice they fight for. Also, seeing so clearly that that character won the fight gives you an even greater sense of each team member's importance. My favourite thing about the combat system though is the fact that you don't have to kill the shadows. In the hold-up phase, you actually get to talk to them. You can ask for money, an item, or you can try to convince them into becoming your persona, which is easily the most fun. There's actually a little mini-game here, as you have to try and gauge the shadow's personality and figure out exactly what that shadow wants to hear. There's actually plenty of variety in these conversations, and I mean plenty. With one, you can simply promise not to kill them, whilst with another, you can discuss the importance of the new generation treating the elderly with respect, whilst with another, you could discuss what you plan on saying when you meet the shadow's parents after you start dating. This is easily one of the wackiest parts of the game, and I love that. You don't have to kill these guys, and sparing them is a completely different and arguably better reward that leads to you gaining new personas. These mechanics really make this combat system work as well as it does. Once you've discovered the weaknesses of your enemy, the game essentially lets you sidestep the restrictions and wait times you normally find in other turn-based RPGs through the bonus turn and baton pass mechanics, however, only as a reward for skillful play. Once you've figured the enemy out, you can immediately turn the tables, and that feels great! It feels like waiting in line for a roller coaster with an equation in your hands. Okay, this is a bit of a weird analogy, but just follow me with it. When you finally solve the equation, a jetpack drops from the heavens onto your back, and you use your shiny new metal wings to fly high, soaring above the endless queue, and you land stylishly, but also safely, onto the ride. What I mean by that is, you've bypassed all that waiting and got right to the thing that you were working towards, however, you've earned it. Whilst other turn-based combat systems make you figure out the enemy and then wait to put your plan into practice, this combat system lets you turn the tide as soon as you have your solution, and I love that about it. That lack of arbitrary waiting makes this combat feel dynamic, in motion, and that's what makes it such amazing fun. Hello again, I hope you've enjoyed the ride so far. Now is the perfect time to get some snacks, maybe some water, maybe some orange juice if you're feeling a bit crazy. Yeah, I'll see you again in a few minutes in part 2. Until then.